Okay, real talk for a second.
Have you ever looked at your bank account, looked at your tax bill, looked at the cost of literally everything around you, and just thought, is there somewhere else I can go?
Like, not in a dramatic way, just a quiet Tuesday afternoon thought of, what if I just left? What if there was a place with lower taxes, a stronger currency, better financial protections, and a government that actually left you alone to build wealth?
Here's the thing. Most people assume that's a fantasy, a pipe dream, something only billionaires with offshore accounts and private jets get to think about.
But what if I told you that place exists?
What if I told you there is a fully functioning nation with its own government, its own currency, its own passports, its own stock market, and its own tax code, sitting inside Europe, recognized internationally, operating completely legally, and most people have never heard of it?
My name is Zach, and I spend way too much time thinking about how money, sovereignty, and financial systems actually work underneath the surface.
If you're someone who feels like the financial game is rigged against regular people, like no matter how hard you work, the system always seems designed to benefit someone else, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out.
Because today, we are going deep. We're talking about micronations, specifically the ones that aren't jokes, the ones with real economies, real financial infrastructure, and in some cases, real lessons about how money and power actually function in the modern world. And by the end of this video, you are going to look at concepts like currency, citizenship, and economic sovereignty in a completely different way.
Let's get into it.
So first, let's define what we're actually talking about.
A micronation, in the serious, internationally recognized sense, is a sovereign state that is extremely small in terms of population or land area, but operates as a fully independent political and economic entity.
Now, when most people hear micronation, they think of some guy who declared his backyard a kingdom in 2003. And look, those exist too. There's one off the coast of England called Sealand, which is literally a rusted platform in the North Sea. Fascinating. Not what we're talking about today.
We're talking about Liechtenstein. 39,000 people.
You've probably got more people in your city's downtown on a Friday night.
Liechtenstein is 160 square kilometers. That's roughly the size of Washington, D.C.
Except instead of a federal government burning through a $6.5 trillion annual budget, you have a constitutional monarchy running a budget surplus. And a financial sector so sophisticated it manages assets estimated at over $140 billion for a country with the population of a mid-sized American suburb.
Let that land for a second. $140 billion in managed assets. 39,000 people. That's roughly $3.5 million in managed financial assets per citizen. Here's what most people don't realize about places like Liechtenstein.
The reason they work, the reason they're financially powerful despite being geographically invisible, is because they made deliberate, strategic choices about their economic architecture that larger nations couldn't or wouldn't make.
Let's break it down piece by piece. Liechtenstein uses the Swiss franc. Now, technically, that means they don't print their own currency. But here's where it gets interesting. By adopting the Swiss franc through a monetary agreement with Switzerland, they essentially outsource their currency risk to one of the most stable, inflation-resistant monetary systems on the planet.
Instead of building a central bank from scratch, which costs money, creates bureaucracy, and opens you up to monetary policy mistakes, they said, why would we reinvent a wheel that Switzerland already built perfectly?
During the 2008 financial crisis, while the US dollar and euro were under serious pressure, the Swiss franc appreciated. During COVID volatility in 2020, same story.
Liechtenstein essentially gets all of that stability for free.
A Liechtenstein passport is one of the most powerful travel documents on Earth. Visa-free or visa-on-arrival access to over 188 countries, according to the Henley Passport Index.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, Nick, that's the same as most Western European passports. And you'd be right.
But here's the thing. Citizenship in Liechtenstein is extraordinarily difficult to obtain. We're talking naturalization requirements that include 30 years of continuous residency. 30 years.
And even then, your application has to be approved by the specific municipality you live in. Individual villages get a vote on whether you belong.
This scarcity is intentional. It protects the value of citizenship itself as an economic asset.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting.
Liechtenstein doesn't have a traditional stock exchange in the way New York or London does.
What it does have is one of the most sophisticated investment fund and asset management ecosystems in the world. As of recent data, Liechtenstein hosts over 30 licensed banks and 200+ registered investment fund structures, in a country that, again, has fewer people than most university campuses.
Now look, I'm not telling you to move to Liechtenstein. That's not really the point of this video. The point is this: what can the financial architecture of a micronation teach us about how we build our own financial lives?
Small, optimized systems outperform large, bloated ones, not because they have more resources, but because every decision they make is intentional. Liechtenstein didn't accidentally become a financial hub. They sat down, looked at what larger nations were doing badly, high corporate taxes, currency instability, overregulation, and deliberately built the opposite.
Now, you might be thinking, Zach, I can't design my own country. What does this have to do with me? Fair. Here's the translation.
Most people manage their personal finances the way large, inefficient governments manage their economies. Reactive, disorganized, spending first, planning second, borrowing to cover gaps, no strategic framework.
The Liechtenstein model, small, intentional, optimized, is exactly how high net worth individuals structure their personal financial lives.
And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of us do none of that. Monaco, 2.2 square kilometers. No income tax for residents. One of the highest concentrations of millionaires and billionaires per capita on Earth. Their economy is built almost entirely on financial services, luxury tourism, and real estate, which, by the way, is the most expensive in the world at an average of over $58,000 per square meter, according to Knight Frank's wealth report.
San Marino claims to be the world's oldest republic, founded in 301 AD, has its own government, issues its own commemorative euro coins, and maintains an extremely low public debt to GDP ratio that most G7 nations would envy.
The Vatican, a fully sovereign nation with a population of approximately 800 people, its own banking system, the Institute for the Works of Religion, commonly known as the Vatican Bank, managing assets that researchers have estimated in the billions, though exact figures remain opaque. Here's what all of these places have in common. They are financially powerful, not despite their size, but because of it. Size creates complexity. Complexity creates inefficiency. Inefficiency destroys wealth. So here's what I want you to actually take away from this. Step 1. Audit your current financial architecture. Do you actually know where your money goes every month?
Liechtenstein doesn't run a budget surplus by accident. They know exactly what's coming in and what's going out. You need to do the same.
Step 2. Optimize for tax efficiency, legally. The wealthy don't pay less tax because they cheat. They pay less tax because they understand the code better than everyone else.
Max your 401k. Use your HSA if you have a qualifying health plan. Understand the difference between short-term and long-term capital gains. These are legal tools available to every single person watching this video right now.
Most people are in whatever bank their parents used in 1994.
High-yield savings accounts currently offer rates between 4.5% and 5.2% APY, while traditional savings accounts at major banks are still offering 0.01%. That difference on a $20,000 emergency fund is roughly $900 per year for doing literally nothing differently except choosing a better institution.
Step 4. Build intentionally, not reactively. Every financial decision Liechtenstein makes is forward-looking. They are not responding to crises. They are structuring to avoid them.
Look, I know what you're thinking at the end of a video like this. Zach, that's interesting, but I'm not a micronation. I'm just a person trying to figure out how to stop living paycheck to paycheck. And I hear you. I genuinely do.
But here's the thing. The gap between where you are and where you want to be financially is almost never about income.
It's almost always about architecture.
The people who win financially aren't the ones who earn the most. They're the ones who build the most intentional systems around what they earn.
Liechtenstein shouldn't exist. By every conventional measure, no natural resources, no military, no strategic location, no economic scale. It should be irrelevant.
Instead, it manages $140 billion in assets and runs budget surpluses while neighboring countries drown in debt.
That happened because 39,000 people made intentional, disciplined, strategic financial decisions at every level of their society.
You can do the same thing, at your level, with your income, starting today.
The rules of money don't care how big you are. They care how smart you are.
If this video gave you even one thing to think about differently, hit that thumbs up. It helps more people find this content. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we go this deep every single week. And I'll see you in the next one.